This is iFIBER 1 News. Here are today's top stories.
Impaired and intoxicated driving has long been a growing concern for public safety in the United States.
Tucked away in the Grant Road office building, there's a new option for Wenatchee Valley patients in the grip of substance abuse. Anglers seeking a summer catch of Chinook and sockeye salmon on the Columbia River this year will have to cast their hooks elsewhere.
Start Easter weekend bright and early as the Ephrata Lions Club annual Youth Fishing Derby returns Saturday at Oasis Park.
From the iFIBER 1 newsroom, this is iFIBER 1 News. And it starts now.
Impaired and intoxicated driving has long been a growing concern for public safety in the United States, and the oldest statutes which punish such offenses date back over 11 decades to just a few years after Henry Ford's invention of the first mass-produced automobile the world had ever seen. Law enforcement's crackdown on driving under the influence saw a dramatic increase in the late 1970s, and over the past 30 years, there are a number of days during each year which have become synonymous with a spike in DUI arrests. Now, along with annual holidays like New Year's Day and the 4th of July, and seasonal occasions like Super Bowl Sunday, patrolling agencies have another 24-hour cycle when they expect to be pulling over a lot more motorists for impaired driving. April 20th is rapidly becoming a big day for busting those who are under the influence while behind the wheel. Numerically, the date correlates to the term 420, which is identifiable to the world of cannabis culture as a time when marijuana is smoked or ingested. As a result, this Saturday's 20th day of April has prompted state, regional, and local law enforcement offices to step up their patrols to look for those who are impaired while driving.
April 20th, 420, falls on a Saturday this year. The last time it did, the increase in collisions resembled that of post-Super Bowl. So the collisions went up significantly. So the state, Washington State Traffic Safety Commission, decided to implement and spend some money on extra patrols to keep impaired drivers off the roadway.
High-visibility 420 emphasis patrols are being conducted this Saturday by the Washington State Patrol and virtually every county sheriff's office in the state, as well as many city police departments. And since there is no current method of spot testing a person to verify the presence of pot in their system, most of these agencies will have the aid of a trained specialist who can be brought in to help their officers in recognizing those who do.
The impairment's going to be similar. The extra step is if there's not alcohol involved in the DUI stop, a drug recognition expert can be called in to recognize the signs of impairment.
Law enforcement agencies across the state are not only seeing an increase in marijuana-related driving impairments on April 20th each year, but have also noted a marked escalation in such instances all of the time since the legalization of recreational cannabis in Washington 5 years ago.
Most of the Washingtonians don't drive impaired. However, the increase has been in dual drug impairment, as far as using alcohol mixed with marijuana is the most popular one. So there's definitely a need to get out and enforce and keep those drivers off the roadway.
Reporting for iFIBER 1 News, I'm Chris Hansen.
This segment is brought to you by...
Change doesn't have to be complicated. With a low-profile microwave hood combination that's ready to install right out of the box. It fits in the same space as your under-cabinet hood, so you can get your microwave off the countertop and make space for the routines worth keeping. The low-profile microwave hood combination from the #1 selling appliance brand in the USA.
Whirlpool Appliances, now available at more furniture in Ephrata.
Tucked away in the Grant Road office building, there's a new option for Wenatchee Valley patients in the grip of substance abuse. Ideal Option is the brainchild of emergency room doctors in the Tri-Cities, and East Wenatchee is the newest of its 62 clinics in 10 states.
What we saw was this continuum of patients coming in with addiction problems, alcohol, heroin. We saw resources in the communities, detox beds, inpatient facilities, getting harder and harder to access. So we'd actually tell alcoholics to go home and drink because we couldn't get them into services for a month to 2 months, if we could at all.
In 2012, Dr. Ken Egley and fellow ER Dr. Jeffrey Algar started a part-time practice treating substance dependencies.
We started getting hundreds and hundreds of phone calls on our personal cell phones. We made a lot of interesting mistakes. Learning. Found out there was such a need.
About 100 medical providers now work for Ideal Option, including doctors who hold what's called an XDEA waiver, a federal certification that allows them to prescribe addiction treatment just as easily as they could prescribe opioids and other painkillers that can lead to addiction. That way, clients can step down from substance abuse in stages under medical supervision rather than quit cold turkey.
They need the medication initially. Just like in psychiatry, in many disease processes, they put people on medication for 2 to 3 months before they start psychosocial interventions because they have to stabilize the biochemistry. That's what we do.
Treatment at the centers goes beyond opioids, which killed 70,000 Americans in 2017, to address alcoholism and other substance abuse disorders. Medicaid patients are welcome. The East Wenatchee location has been operating since March. Jefferson Robbins, iFIBER 1 News.
This segment is brought to you by
Your taste buds bored? Well, then bring them to Jay's Teriyaki. Not only does Jay's have a variety of teriyaki dishes, they also offer mouth-watering salads and sides. Call Jay's 509-764-5155. Jay's Teriyaki, located at 123 East Broadway in Moses Lake, because it's all in the sauce.
Anglers seeking a summer catch of Chinook and sockeye salmon on the Columbia River this year will have to cast their hooks elsewhere. The Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife announced Tuesday the entire reach of the river will be closed for catching both species, thanks to low expected numbers of the fish returning to their upstream hatcheries. It's the same story elsewhere in Washington, with popular Puget Sound fisheries closing also to spare those Chinook that do return for spawning. Fish and Wildlife Director Kelly Suswin said coho returns are higher than in recent years, but Washington's Chinook habitat must be improved to avoid future declines. The move is likely to benefit the 75 or so remaining southern resident killer whales, keeping boat traffic down in the orca's critical Puget Sound habitat. The whale's health is a subject of increasing concerns for wildlife managers. Fall fisheries will be open under various regulations starting on the lower Columbia below Pasco on August 1st. Jefferson Robbins, iFIBER 1 News.
Start Easter weekend bright and early as the Ephrata Lions Club annual Youth Fishing Derby returns Saturday at Oasis Park. The event is free and kicks off at 6 a.m. at the park pond off State Route 28. The Derby is open to kids age 14 and younger, but children must be able to handle their own fishing poles. According to organizers, parents can help with casting, but kids should be able to reel in their catch. Derby prizes for each age category are handed out at 8:15 a.m., and catches need to be brought to the judging area by 8 a.m. for measurements. The annual fishing derby started back in 1972 and has attracted hundreds of kids each year. This is Joe Utter for iFIBER 1 News.
This is iFIBER 1 News. For more information on these stories and other news, visit us online at iFiber1.com or check us out on Facebook.